Our coverage of the breaking news out of Western New York continues this hour. Police say an 18-year-old man dressed in tactical gear and protective armor opened fire at a grocery store in Buffalo just hours ago, killing 10 people and wounding 3 others. Police say most of the victims were African American and the gunman is white. The suspect, Peyton Gendron, has just appeared in court and was arraigned on charges related to the shooting. We should note that is going to be the only time we name him tonight. Our Athena Jones is tracking the story, joins us now. Athena, we just heard some very passionate remarks there from New York Governor Kathy Hochul, who blasted social media for giving hate a platform. What else did we hear?
Hi, Pamela. That's right. And you know, Kathy Hochul is a native of Buffalo. She was born in Buffalo. She started out her remarks talking about how she knows this community, how she spent time in this community. And she talked, or she showed and said that she was angry by the events of today, as anyone would be with this senseless killing. She said, you know, she's angry. She's seeing guns causing mayhem in places like Brooklyn, when we saw the shooting on the subway in Brooklyn in recent weeks, and now here on the streets of Buffalo. She mentioned some sort of gun legislation package to be discussed in Albany to address the issue of guns. And she also, interestingly, told us a little bit more about the weapon that this suspect was carrying, saying that her understanding was that it was a legally obtained weapon that was modified in such a way that made it illegal. The modification was illegal, and that it was modified with magazines available in Pennsylvania. And of course, when you hear folks like Kathy Hochul, the mayor of New York here in New York City, Eric Adams, they talk a lot about the iron pipeline, guns and gun parts moving from states where there are looser rules to places like New York where there are tougher rules. But clear from both the governor and the other officials we heard speaking that this is being, she called this suspect basically a terrorist, and said, called him a white supremacist who engaged in an act of terrorism, and he will be prosecuted as such, describing this suspect, or describing this incident as a military-style execution. Why are they describing it that way? This suspect was heavily armed, full tactical gear, had on a helmet. This suspect had a camera. He was live streaming the shooting as it occurred. In fact, CNN has viewed some of that video, and you could see from the point of view of the suspect with the camera, I don't know where it was mounted on him, but driving into the parking lot, getting out of the car. He already shoots several people in the parking lot. I believe it was 4 people, enters this store, eventually engages with a security guard who was a retired Buffalo police officer. That security guard tries to stop the suspect by shooting at him, but because the suspect was so heavily armed, that bullet didn't cause any harm. The suspect shoots the security guard, kills him. This is someone who a lot of the folks on scene know. And so there's a lot of anger and concern in this community. People just going on an ordinary Saturday, like so many of us have done on multiple weekends in a year, to go and do your errands, go to the grocery store. And now 10 of those people will not be coming home for dinner, as we heard the governor note. We also understand that there were a total of 13 people shot. 10 of them were killed. 11 of those 13 people are black. That is our understanding, and so that is one of the reasons that authorities are saying that this is a hate crime. There is also other evidence that we don't know the full details of yet. So there's been mention of a purported manifesto posted online in connection with this shooting, and other evidence that may come to light and be reportable. But it's unusual to see authorities say so quickly after something like this happens. This only occurred at about 2:30, and within a couple of hours, you had members of law enforcement saying this is indeed a hate crime and is being investigated as such, something racially motivated. More from the folks we heard Kathy Hochul say that I thought was also very interesting, given the recent news out of the Supreme Court. She said that she's going to be, in addition to talking about guns and potential guns legislation in Albany, she said that she's going to be preparing the state of New York for a coming ruling or expected ruling by the Supreme Court of the U.S. that could allow, it's regard to a New York law against concealed weapons. And so they're worried, Governor Hochul is worried that the Supreme Court could rule against this New York law, which would allow, it would require a lifting of restrictions on people carrying concealed weapons outside the home. And so that is yet another concern among many that are stemming from this shooting. Also things like whether there could be copycats. Pamela.
Yeah, that is an ongoing concern for sure for law enforcement at this hour. Athena Jones, thank you. That was a lot to report there. We appreciate you wrapping it all up for us. In the wake of this horrific shooting in Buffalo, New York, where 10 innocent people lost their lives, I want to bring in Congressman Brian Higgins of New York. He represents Buffalo, and he joins me on the line right now. And Congressman, I understand you just left the scene of the shooting. What was it like being there?
Mixed emotions, anger, frustration, empathy. People are sad. Buffalo is a city of good neighbors, and we are a good community. And, the eyes of the nation are on Buffalo today. Those eyes are filled with tears and sympathy. And Buffalo is filled with a sense of we need justice on this issue. It was a very sad day. It has been identified by law enforcement officials as a racially motivated act of domestic terrorism. The suspect, who has been apprehended, has been now charged with murder in the first degree in New York State, but there will be other federal charges pending.
Have you been briefed on the latest in the investigation?
I have, by law enforcement officials at the federal, state, and local level. And, they're still compiling information. Not everything, but many things are inconclusive at this point. But it's certainly moving in a direction that seems to be, cohesive in terms of the motivation. This was an individual that was from outside our area. He was not from Buffalo. He came to Buffalo heavily armed with at least an AK-47 that was modified, killed 10 people. 3 people are in the hospital, expected to recover. But this is a sad day for Buffalo, and it's a sad day for the nation. It's a continuation of what we have seen, and until a community, this situation exacts itself on a community, you don't realize that it's a problem that's pervasive and growing.